Holla holla party people, this is Johnny Ferro here coming at you with another video. And this is another one. I'm not going to play any music on this video, but I'm going to talk about something. You know, I've seen a lot of posts recently on social media. I'm in a lot of groups that are music related about people looking for band members. You know, this, that, or the other thing, guitarists, singers, different genres. You know, and one thing I've noticed is that, and you may notice this too, bands have a tendency to start and break up pretty quickly. Like, it starts, it's awesome for a minute or two, and the next thing you know, the band's just not doing anything. It happens, you know? I mean, to me, bands are very much like marriages. I thought it might be helpful for anyone that's interested if I gave you some of what I look for in a bandmate. And, you know, I've definitely had some bands that have started and then quit right away, but I've had some bands that have lasted, and I've wound up in some pretty great situations. You know, so these are things to look for in a bandmate. Also, the reverse of, if you're trying to be in somebody else's band, this is a good way to conduct yourself. These are kind of my successful actions for pulling in good work, good gigs on music. And, you know, this is adaptable to other things, but I'm going to give it to you from the context of being a musician. So here we go. So number one is be prepared. There's a saying, actually a good friend of mine, Nick Mason, he goes by Living Dead Drummer. He's a phenomenal musician out here in LA, also from my hometown as it would happen. You know, and he taught me a saying. I was doing a rehearsal with him, and he said, practice is for learning, rehearsal is for tightening. You know, if you're going into a band, get the music ahead of time before the first rehearsal. Even before the audition, you'll usually get some music ahead of time. And really put the time in to learn it, you know. A, it shows initiative, and B, it makes sure that you're not going to waste time. Any band is going to appreciate that. And that's always been a big successful action of mine, is going in prepared. Now, this is a stupid, simple thing, but it makes a huge difference, especially when you're working with professionals. Be on time. I had a vocal coach when I was in high school, and his thing was always early is on time and on time is late. And that was just the mantra. That was what we all operate on. This is at my high school with, we were like the top, I think at the time, the top high school choral group, men's choral group in the entire state of New York, or at least in Western New York, one of the two. Yeah, not a small deal. This guy drilled that into our heads as a point of professionalism, and it's so true, and it's something people noticed. I've asked people for feedback on me, bands I've been in before, just when I was looking for feedback, how am I doing? And that was something that's come up for me in the past, is that they really appreciated that I show up early, actually. I always shoot to be early to rehearsals, early to gigs, you know, and I stay a little late if I need to as well, if there's something to work on. I'm there to get the job done, you know, and that's something that does not get taken lightly, and it will be noticed. It's something that I look for in a bandmate. You know, if somebody's on time and not early, that's fine. You know, I'm not going to necessarily be like, you're not going to be in my band because you only show up on time. I will tell you that when people show up chronically late to things, they tend to not last very long in the projects I'm involved in, whether they're my projects or other projects. So, now, this is one that may seem to go against what is commonly accepted as a musician mentality. Although from my experience, that's kind of a falsehood, and most really pro musicians don't think the way people think they do. And that is that there is no drugs or heavy drinking, A, in any band that I run myself, and B, when I go into a project, I typically won't even get involved in a project if any of that's going on. Historically, there seems to have been a viewpoint, people think, oh, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, music is all about partying. No. In fact, that actually takes away from what you're doing as an artist, as far as I'm concerned, and it's also just really irresponsible. It sets a terrible example, and factually, I play like shit when I'm drunk. I really don't drink anymore anyway, but I've definitely had those days. They were a while ago. You know, and I've seen video of myself playing intoxicated. It's not pretty. It just doesn't go well. I was never big into drugs myself, but to me, anything that takes control away from you and puts it in a chemical or some other exterior cause is not a good thing, and it has no place in a band. So that's a deal breaker for me. I will not work with people that do drugs or are into really heavy partying and drinking. To me, that's not why I'm there. I'm there to create music. I'm there to inspire people. I'm there to make people feel better about themselves through what I'm doing, and drugs just don't have anything to do with that. Number 4 is serve the song, not your ego. You know, I've definitely been in situations with musicians, and they had more attention on their part being heard, or being showcased in some way instead of saying, what does this song need? You know, and this has served me as a producer and as just an artist a performing artist in bands. You know, any project I work in, I'm looking at, okay, I want this project to succeed. This isn't just to pump my ego. This could be a future. Who knows? I mean, any project could be the one that catches on and breaks, right? So I'm always looking at what is the communication of this song? How can I enhance that and get it across without overshadowing it, overdoing it, watering that down because I felt like my guitar needed to be a little louder, you know? I kind of look at it this way, like, you know, if you're adding salt to a dish, the right amount of salt pulls flavor out of that dish. If you throw a mountain of salt on it, you just killed your dish. I kind of look at it the same way with that, is that what is this dish, what does this song need to bring out the flavor a little more? Not how much of me can I throw at it to the point that the song just gets destroyed. All right, and now this is another really huge thing, is never, ever, ever talk smack about other people, other artists in the group. Like, don't get into infighting, and even other bands and other artists. I never do that. You know, I've made that mistake years ago in the past. What goes around comes around. It is a smaller world than you think it is. And if you're the kind of person that talks about people, that will get around and people will not want to work with you. Also, it just doesn't do anything for anybody. It doesn't serve the purpose of the band. And honestly, when I've done that in the past, I felt terrible afterwards. Like, even if there was no real consequence that I was aware of, I just felt bad. Who wants to feel bad? So that's a big thing. Don't talk smack about people. You know, these next couple ones, and particularly this next one, are a little bit next level, as I would say. So number 6, do more than what is asked for. Now, I don't fault people for doing what I ask them to and no more. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is taking it to the next level in the sense that this is how you're going to stand out. This is how you're going to have people coming to you and wanting to work with you, not you always seeking the gig. And there's nothing wrong with seeking gigs and auditioning. That's fine. But it's a really cool thing when somebody reaches out and says, you know, I've been watching you and I like what I see and I've wanted to work with you and now I have a project and I want you involved in it. You know, I mean, that's just amazingly flattering. And I tell you what, those are usually the better products. They're the ones that pay and pay decent or even great, you know, and they're the ones that have some fortitude, that actually have a bunch of other professionals working in them. So, big thing, I always look to see what I can do above and beyond what's asked. For example, you know, I may go into a band, you know, and they have some music and they want me to learn it. There's no charts for the music. I'll go out of my way to make up a chart for the music, and then I'll give it to them to use so that the other guys can have it, you know, to work with if that's helpful. Or anyone else coming into the band, they can give them that and it'll help them come up to speed faster. Like, that's a big thing. And it, you know, it takes a little bit of time, not a ton, but you're going to be learning the music anyway. You're going to note down what you're doing anyway. You may as well put it into a form other people can use and understand, and then it's a help to them. You've done something to help them. You've gone above and beyond. Stuff like that is awesome. And by the way, it feels great to do. I enjoy doing that because I know, to me, it's like investing. You're investing into the future of this project. And I tell you what, you know, I mean, every project isn't going to be that project. You know, there are people that'll come my way. I've had people come my way and they've said, oh, you should be in this band. You should be on this project. And it's a garage band scenario. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. But, you know, I'm not necessarily going to pour myself into that versus working with a bunch of professionals. It's a paying gig and the band has a real future and is really taking it from a business-minded perspective as well as from the creative perspective. I will pour myself into that all day long. And those are the kind of projects I like. And the way I get into those projects and keep them is I always do what I can to deliver more than what I'm asked to do. All right, and lucky number 7, and this is kind of the overarching viewpoint, I guess you could say, and that is to have a professional and upbeat attitude. Nobody likes to work with a wet rag. Nobody likes a shit attitude in their band. And you know, it's going to come through in your playing. It's going to come through in your interactions with the guys in the band. You're just not going to last. So be professional, work hard, keep it really upbeat, do what you can to validate what's going on around you. And that's another big part of the being upbeat and professional is when somebody in the band does something great, tell them. man, that was a great riff. You really nailed that part. I can tell you worked on that, and that's killer. You handled that really well. I mean, it makes them feel good. It makes you feel good. It makes you look amazing. And they really know, especially if you do this consistently over time, they really know that you're there and that you care. And this is something I look for in my bandmates. I don't let people that are all super, down and crabby and miserable all the time, I don't keep those people in my projects. And again, everything I've gone through, these are all things that I personally do when I enter into a project. They're also things I look for in other people. I see someone talking shit about somebody, chances are they're going to be out of my group pretty quick. I might talk to them once and be like, yo, don't do that. And if it keeps up, they're out. If I find out someone's doing heavy drugs and drinking, they're out. And I don't do those things, and I don't allow other people to do them in my space. All right, guys, I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that for my musician friends out there, this does you some good. Even for my non-musician friends, adapt this philosophy and these tips to what you're doing. I'm sure that on some level, these things apply. All right? So until the next video, I'm Johnny Ferro, and I'll see you guys later. Mwah.